Lincoln Mitchell is a political analyst at Columbia University and joins us from New York via Skype. I'm going to, first of all, thank you. And I'm going to pick up on something that Stephen Rogers was saying. He's saying that he thinks that at some point we will know who it is and get to the bottom of it. Do you agree with that? And do you think it matters who it actually is?
Well, thank you for inviting me on. I actually do agree with that. It's hard to keep something like this secret for a very long time. The person, it will be found out who did it. The person who did write this opinion piece probably will be fired. And I think it does matter who did this. I mean, the piece is a fascinating piece on many levels. It is not anything new. Most Americans are aware that the president is not the most mentally balanced person in the world. I'm being generous here. Is unhinged and he behaves erratically. So writing that in the New York Times isn't exactly newsbreak. But what's striking here is that the person who wrote this, also the other side of the opinion piece, which everyone should read if they haven't yet, says, don't worry, we're still pursuing, mainstream conservative Republican policies. So this is, I think, someone who's trying to navigate a complicated message here. On the one hand saying,
no, go ahead.
Yes?
No, please carry on.
No, on the one hand saying, yes, the president's not really up to the job mentally, but on the other hand, where I'm intervening, where the writer of the article says they're intervening on things like trade policy. And that is, as one of the previous commentators said, it's a problem. If you work in the White House, you should implement the president's programs. If you think the president is unfit, you should pursue a 25th Amendment solution. But this person did neither. So,
okay, so to that point, even if you're from the camp that you agree with these particular observations and critiques, and they have been written about in other books, Bob Woodward, et cetera, even if you agree with all of that, what do you think of this particular approach to write an op-ed about this and for the New York Times to publish it? What do you think of that?
I don't think it's a very powerful approach because it is anonymous. And we do have a tradition in the United States of people resigning, people saying, I'm not going to be part of this anymore. But the tone of this opinion piece is that I have to be part of this because I'm, whoever the writer is, am part of a small group that's saving the country. But as someone who is not a supporter of the president, I might ask, saving the country from what? Well, we've seen the evil, the venality of this Trump administration. So they haven't saved us from that. So what are they saving us from? What's the point? As far as the New York Times, I think on balance, the Times should, unless there's really security of the writer involved, should insist that people put their names on opinion pieces. But I'm not with the editorial board of the New York Times, so I don't have any input on that decision.
How do you think that this will affect Donald Trump's administration going forward? He's already reacted some on Twitter, which is where we usually look for his reactions, right? Saying things like, hand over this person, et cetera, et cetera. But in all fairness to him, this would make anybody uncomfortable that somebody wrote these types of things about them in such a public fashion. How do you think that this will affect him?
Well, it would make any president upset. Most presidents would say, I want to find out who this person is and fire this person, right? What we're hearing from the president is this notion of that law enforcement needs to get involved. But the person who wrote this article did nothing illegal. So on the one hand, this teases out more of the president's contempt for basic freedoms that are fundamental to any democracy, freedom of assembly, but particularly freedom of the press. I think it will increase the paranoia within the White House, which starts with the president, who really, according to a lot of people, doesn't really know who he can trust in the White House. It will get him lashing out more, but I'm not sure that in a week we'll still be talking about this. There's been a history since Donald Trump became president, or even before then, of people in the kind of punditry class saying, this is the event that will change everything. And then a week later, we're talking about something else. And I suspect that this opinion piece will fall into that category over time.
Okay, we will see. Lincoln Mitchell, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.